Hey everyone, and welcome. Today, we're going to crack open the 10 fundamental principles of economics. Now, don't worry, this isn't going to be some dry, boring lecture. Think of this as the basic operating system for how our world works, from your personal choices to huge global events. So let's just dive right in. It really all boils down to this one simple question. We all want things, right? More time, more money, more of everything. So why can't we just have it all? The answer to that question is literally the starting point for all of economics. And here's the answer: scarcity. It's the big one. The main idea is that we live in a world with unlimited wants, but we only have limited resources to satisfy them. And so economics is really just the study of how we manage that fundamental problem. It's all about making choices. Okay, so if it's all about making choices, how do we actually do it? Well, let's start with you. These first 4 principles are like your personal decision-making toolkit, and you use them every single day, probably without even realizing it. First up, there is no such thing as a free lunch. To get one thing, you always have to give up something else. Every choice involves a trade-off. A family might have to choose between that dream vacation and a much-needed new car. And it's not just personal. Society does this on a huge scale, constantly balancing efficiency, which is about making the economic pie as big as possible, and equality, which is about how we slice that pie up and who gets what. So because we're always making trade-offs, the real cost of anything you do isn't just the money you spend. The true cost is what you had to give up to get it. Economists have a name for this: opportunity cost. And college is the perfect example of this. You see the obvious costs: the tuition, the books, the fees. Those are explicit. But the biggest cost, the one people often forget, is implicit. It's the salary you could have been earning if you were working instead of studying. That lost income is a huge part of the real cost of going to college. Okay, this one sounds a little academic, I know, thinking at the margin. But the idea is actually super simple. It just means that we make decisions by comparing the small, incremental costs and benefits of a choice. We're not usually deciding between all or nothing. We're deciding about doing a little bit more or a little bit less. And this is a fantastic way to think about it. Imagine you just ran a marathon. That first glass of water, the marginal benefit is huge. It's amazing. But what about the 10th glass of water? If you're already hydrated, the benefit of one more glass is practically zero. Rational people instinctively make these kinds of marginal decisions all the time. So what drives these marginal choices? Well, it's incentives. An incentive is basically anything that motivates you to act. It could be a reward or a punishment. And honestly, if you can figure out the incentives, you can predict a shocking amount of human behavior. Now, obviously, this is an absolutely ridiculous and kind of horrifying suggestion, right? But it makes the point perfectly. The incentive, or in this case, the disincentive of that knife, is so powerful that it would completely change how people drive. It's an extreme example, but it shows just how much our actions are shaped by the consequences we expect. All right, so we've covered the individual's toolkit. Now, let's zoom out. How do our millions of individual decisions fit together? This is where we start talking about how we all interact with each other in an economy. A lot of people think of trade as a competition, like a sport where one side wins and the other loses. But that's not how it works at all. Trade allows countries and people to specialize in what they do best. And when we all specialize and trade with each other, everyone ends up better off. We get more stuff, more variety, and usually at a lower cost. But wait a minute. If millions of us are all buying and selling and trading, how does it not just become total chaos? How is it all organized? Well, for the most part, the answer is markets. A market is this amazing, decentralized system where the decisions of countless buyers and sellers all come together. And this leads us to one of the most famous ideas in all of economics: Adam Smith's invisible hand. The idea is incredible. When individuals and companies act in their own self-interest, prices emerge, and these prices act as signals, guiding all this economic activity in a way that, as if by magic, often leads to the best outcome for society as a whole. But that invisible hand isn't foolproof. Markets are powerful, but they aren't perfect. Sometimes they fail to produce an efficient outcome, and that's where our 7th principle comes in. Sometimes the government can step in and actually improve things. Now, this usually happens for 2 big reasons. First, someone has to be the referee and enforce the rules of the game. That means protecting property rights. You can't have a market if people can just take your stuff. And second, the government steps in to fix what we call market failures. A classic example is pollution, which is an externality, a cost that affects people who weren't part of the original transaction. Or when one company gets so big it has market power and can dictate prices for everyone. Okay, we've gone from you to us. For our final 3 principles, let's zoom out one last time to the biggest possible view, the economy as a whole. These are the macro forces that shape our entire world. So what makes one country rich and another poor? It's not about having gold or oil or diamonds. It all comes down to one thing: productivity. The vast differences in the standard of living we see across the globe can be explained almost entirely by how much a country is able to produce. And that's what productivity is. It's the amount of stuff, goods and services, that can be produced for each hour of work. It's the ultimate source of a country's wealth. If you want to raise living standards, you have to find ways to raise productivity. That means better tools, better technology, and better skills for your workers. All right, let's talk about inflation. That's when prices across the entire economy are going up. What causes it? Well, in almost all cases of large, persistent inflation, the culprit is the same. The government has created too much money. Yep. When there's more money floating around, but the amount of goods and services to buy stays the same, that money just becomes less valuable. Each dollar buys a little bit less than it did before. It's the classic case of too much money chasing too few goods. And that brings us to our final principle, and this one is a bit tricky. In the short run, there's often a trade-off between inflation and unemployment. It's a tough balancing act. When policymakers take steps to fight inflation, like raising interest rates, it can slow down the economy and lead to higher unemployment. It's one of the central challenges that governments and central banks face. So, there you have it. The 10 principles, broken down into 3 neat categories. It starts with how you make decisions, then it's about how we all interact with each other, and finally, it's about the big picture of how the whole economy works. This framework is like a new set of glasses for seeing the world. So, I'll leave you with this question. This isn't just a bunch of abstract theory. These are real forces that are shaping your life and the world around you every single day. So take a look around, at the news, at your job, at the choices you make. Which one of these principles do you see playing out the most? Because I guarantee, once you start looking for them, you'll see them absolutely everywhere.